around a mat. Head coach of the 2017 USA Judo, I got UFC. USA Judo World Team, judo and grappling coach for Ronda Rousey, three-time national champion. Justin Flores is with us. J-Flo, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're doing well. So we got J-Flo and K-Flo. Like, this is just fucking nauseating right now. But
you don't
it's
got
good
a shorthand handle there, John?
I'm telling you, you guys could really do something. J-Flo and K-Flo. Just
right.
get me out of the way. So I know, Justin, and we appreciate your time today. So you recently coached the world team in Budapest, Hungary, I believe. What were your expectations as the head coach going in? And for those maybe that don't know, how did it turn out for Team USA?
So it was a little bit younger of a team. We had 3 athletes who had just retired who were Olympic and world medalists. So 11 of the 17 competitors that competed at the tournament were noobs. So The expectations were to get good experience and climb up the world rankings in the lead up to the 2020 games. So we had a few athletes do well better than expected and a couple that actually underperformed. So it was a mixed bag, but overall the lead up and the training that we had together as a team was great. And that's kind of going to be the vital things I'm going to focus on and gaining momentum and steam towards 2020.
So you were an All-American wrestler at the University of Nebraska. When did you transition to judo and ultimately Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? A little bit about your background from Lincoln into the judo world.
Sure. So actually I started judo when I was a kid under my dad. Me and my brother were raised on the mat doing judo, and then I actually started wrestling in high school because my brother did it, and it was kind of like an easy transition. So I started wrestling in high school, and within a couple of years I was ranked in the top 3 in the country and was able to kind of use that as a springboard to get a scholarship to the University of Nebraska. And my brother at the time was the number 1 on the Olympic ladder at the age of 19, and I was 17. And I was number 2 on the Olympic ladder in the weight below him, but I was getting bigger in size. So the smart move was to get the scholarship, get my school paid for, and then come back into judo after. So that's what I did.
Very interesting. High-level judo roots in the Flores family. So I know you're the head judo instructor, Studio 540 in San Diego. Looks like you've been spending some time, though, at this Meraki BJJ in Southern California. Place a damn palace, Justin, huh?
I know. I'm so spoiled. So there's like 2 gyms that I attend frequently. Actually 3. Fabio Santos' Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego, but also Meraki, Studio 540. All of them are like world class. I'm truly spoiled. Meraki is a new jiu-jitsu academy that Kenny co-owns with my good friend Jason Hunt. And man, it's glorious, dude. The mats are suspended. It's spotless. The bathrooms you could eat breakfast off of. Not that I'm saying you would, but the thing, it's top echelon, as well as Studio 540, which is both these gyms bring out the best grapplers, and it's just a place you want to just hang out at.
Well, all those gyms are lucky to have you, man, with your experience and your expertise. But, listen, I know obviously that I know you trained in wrestling, obviously, at a high level. You've been in judo at a high level. The difference, though, is very vast when it comes to the Olympic level because of the money that is spent on wrestling as opposed to judo, correct? What is needed to kind of take judo to that next level in this country?
Man, it's like really complicated. All the years I've been doing judo and competing, I get to see like a global perspective and how other countries do it. And it's just something that the U.S. has not been able to do. And I think a lot of it emanates from the sheer size of the country and how spread out everyone is, where you have like all these kind of dojos where everyone is at home doing their own thing. And then a few times a year, everyone congregates, trains together, and gets a lot better in that week, but then they go back and they fall into their kind of patterns with their local sensei, which I'm not saying is bad. You need those places to grow the sport, and that's part of it too. If you want to do it from a grassroots levels, you need more of these home clubs around these, around the country that are going to be able to produce young athletes that can then turn into the next group that's going to be able to medal. So I think from a standpoint from top down, the investment in the top athletes, I think they're going to have to be able to create more of a system that's a structure that has all the athletes come together, train together, be coached together under the same program that's going to have everyone gain, rather than this kind of unattached system where we've had for years, where you're gonna be able to get like randomly someone who just does great and breaks that mold and is able to medal at the Olympics, but it's not from a system per se, which things are starting to change in U.S. Judo, where there's a new CEO and a new director of operations. So all these things are kind of aligning, so that'll be possible in the future.
It makes a lot of sense, man. Now, I know you've worked with a lot of mixed martial arts fighters, of course, Ronda Rousey being the most famous, but you have worked with Jessica Penne and Jim Hedis and BJ Penn, Jeremy Stevens, Wilson Hayes, and a bunch of other guys. How is that experience in coaching guys to get ready for a mixed martial arts fight different than, say, getting them ready for a judo competition?
Well, I think in MMA, the thing is, like with my style specifically, I'm not going to be able to like remold these fighters because they already are established in a way that has them world class, and when they do what they do great. I might be able to add a slight dimension or just a little nuances to their existing game. I'm not going to try and recreate someone who's successful and change them, because that usually ends up detrimental, not just in my experience, but just watching from the outside, seeing how other coaches operate. So in that stance, I'm not a striking coach. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to be able to have people close the distance well and operate within close quarters well, and be able to defend grappling and be offensive. So I know what my limitations are, and I think that's almost more important than anything else, is knowing where I come into play. Whereas in judo, the game I'm a little bit more well-rounded in. I kind of understand all facets equally, both groundwork, which is submissions, and takedowns. So I think in judo, I'm a little bit more hands-on, where I'll help the athletes do all elements of their pre-tournament routine, which is make weight, which is diet, which is all these things, because it is an amateur sport. So a lot of these UFC and pro fighters have all these coaches for these separate elements that all kind of structure together well, like a four-headed dragon. Whereas in judo, it's me and a manager and another coach on a trip having 17 athletes. And then at a camp, I'm running all the practices, so I have to be aware of everything that's going on around me, from the team to each individual. So a little bit different outlook in both regards, where the judo athlete, I'm able to kind of like get to a higher level, I would say probably quicker, whereas in MMA, the athletes, I'm working on their grappling, a very specific subset of their game that already exists and probably is already at a high level. Like, I have Tiffany Van Soest, who's a world champion Muay Thai fighter, kickboxer, and I'm her head coach, and I work with her strictly on gauging range, defending shots, and being able to get back to her feet. There's nothing about it that's offensive in her grappling that I work with her on. And that's where we're going until, she might want to fall in love a little bit more with grappling. And at that point, we really got to look carefully at what elements are going to keep her safe and get back to her feet, rather than, playing a good guard game. So it's a little different with everyone, but that's just one example.
Smart approach, man. Now, I'm sure you've gotten this question before. Everyone's wanting to know if Ronda Rousey is going to come back. Do you see her ever coming back? Knowing what you know about her, do you think she'll come back into mixed martial arts and fight in the UFC, or do you see her maybe going to the WWE? I know people are talking about that. Have you heard anything? What do you think?
Well, I have a good idea of what's on the horizon for her, but I can't really speak to that until she kind of releases what her plans are. But my internal opinion about her fighting in the UFC are, if I had to go 50-50, I'm a betting man, I would say it would be in the no column. But, you never know. She's still young enough to be able to regroup and be able to kind of get a fresh outlook, possibly. The door could be open. I'm not in her head on that level.